Good evening, children, and we are going to see today the continuation of the previous class on singular and plural. ஒருமை பன்மை அதனுடைய தொடர் வகுப்பை நம்ம பார்க்க போறோம். So far we have seen some of the rules with regard to changing the singular noun into a plural noun, isn't it? So now exactly we have stopped here, okay, in this session. The compound noun normally forms, right? So before that I would like to begin from the A option onwards, okay? The A, names of the instruments, right? Instruments அப்படினு சொல்லும்போது ஒரு கருவி இல்லையா? Instrument அப்படினு சொன்னா கருவிகள், which has a kind of pair. Pair அப்படினு சொன்னா ஒரு ஜோடியா இருக்குது. Scissors for an example. Scissor is a kind of instrument, tool, which has a pair. So therefore normally scissors, we used to pronounce it as scissors. Even singular itself is scissors, okay? So there is no plural form for it. Then spectacles, and these are the small instruments that we all aware first of all. Okay? இதெல்லாம் நம்ம நடைமுறையில் நம்ம பயன்படுத்தக்கூடிய ஒரு சில கருவிகள். Spectacles. Even last class I have shown my own specs. Because the fact it has two lenses as a pair, so we add yes. So normally spectacles, plural form of spectacles, the same word repeated, okay? Then the name of certain articles of dresses, like trousers, jeans, it has two, right? It has a pair. Therefore, this also we have seen. And then certain names of games, விளையாட்டுகளுடைய பெயர்கள் ends with yes. For an example, you see billiards, draughts, cards, the joker எல்லாம் வந்து விளையாடுறீங்க இல்லீங்களா? I think you know more than me about all these cards and dominoes. So these are the games normally singular. In singular itself, this has yes at the end. And second one is a compound noun. What do you mean by compound noun? Nouns, you know the types of nouns. Common noun இருக்குது, proper noun இருக்கு, அப்புறம் abstract noun இருக்கு, collective noun இருக்கு. And all the other two basic classifications also are there in the noun. One is countable nouns and other one is uncountable nouns. Countable nouns which are perceivable, those things which are perceivable through our senses. And uncountable nouns are like abstract things. நம்மளுடைய புலன்களுக்கு அப்பாற்பட்டவைகள் இல்லையா? அன்பு, we can't measure what is love. No one can say what is love. Compassion, service, இதெல்லாம் நம்ம சொல்ல முடியாது. ஏன்னா இதெல்லாம் வந்து பண்பு பெயர்கள், ஒரு பண்பை குறிக்கிற ஒரு பெயர். So you know all these, of course you know, I hope you know all these types of nouns. And what is this compound noun then? You see, this is the examples for compound nouns. Compound அப்படினு சொன்னாலே என்னமா? You have sentences, right? தனி வாக்கியம் அப்படின்றோம், simple sentence. Compound என்ன தமிழ்ல? கலவை. காம்பவுண்ட் என்ன? கலவை. இந்த சிமெண்ட் ஜல்லி எல்லாம் கலக்குவாங்க பாத்திருக்கீங்களா மெஷின்ல? இன்னைக்கு அது வந்து ரெடிமேடா கூட வருது இல்லையா? லாரியில, பெரிய லாரியில, கண்டெய்னர்ல வருது. So the very word compound, what comes to your mind is கலவை. கலவை வாக்கியம், compound sentence. Normally a compound sentence we employ what is the concept called conjunction, bridging word. Yeah, a subordinate conjunction இருக்கலாம், இல்ல coordinating conjunction இருக்கலாம். See, for understand the very word, I'm bringing you lot of examples, all for your understanding, okay? So you look at this example for a simple one. Commander is a noun, okay? Chief is yet another noun. And these two nouns combined together, combination ஆகுது. அப்ப it makes yet another new word. Okay, that is compound noun. So in compound noun, how these rules are implemented, that you should understand very keenly. Okay. So now listen, the compound words. Commander in chief. Chief commander அப்படின்னு சொல்றோம் இல்லையா, ஆர்மியில இருக்கிற ஒரு ஹையர் ரேங்க் அஃபீஷியல். ஓகே, கமாண்டர். He commands and he is a chief person. ஓகே, அவர் கமாண்ட் பண்ணாருன்னு சொன்னா all the soldiers does whatever he says. அவர் சொல்றதெல்லாம் இவங்க செய்றாங்க soldiers. So he is commander in chief. You just listen where they are adding is commanders. So the first noun gets plural form, not the last one. It is not commander in chiefs. There will be a question definitely, and this rule is very many times asked in your public question papers. Okay, so normally you see all these nouns, the beginning nouns added yes, and there are certain words the yes is added at the end. And if you go through some of the examples, and when you use these things frequently in your day-to-day conversations, then you will never make mistake. Because I always believe that principle, because whenever we make some practical steps, then we never make error. Because practice makes us perfect. So there will be a question definitely. So there will be options. Commander in chiefs, commander in chief, commanders in chief. Among that, which you have to supposed to select? Commanders in chief. Why? Because the first noun, commander, becomes commanders. Okay. So normally we can't say why this rule is this way. In any language maybe. It is all determined. All these are determined by the grammarians. இல்லையா, இலக்கணத்தை வகுத்திருக்கிறார்கள். இட்ஸ் a kind of என்னது, முட்டை வந்ததா இல்ல கோழி முதல்ல வந்துச்சா? இட்ஸ் a kind of dilemmatic situation. லாங்குவேஜ் இவால்வ் ஆச்சா இல்ல கிராமர் இவால்வ் ஆச்சா அப்படின்னு பார்த்தா முதல்ல என்ன வந்திருக்கும்? Not the grammar. The thing first evolved is ultimately language. I have told you, when I was teaching spoken English, how the monosyllabic language evolved in the tribal communities. அப்படிதான் language evolve ஆனதுக்கு அப்புறமா தான் normally these grammarians gives structure. When they give structure to a language, so they brings lot of rules and regulations. Okay, so all these comes into play a predominant role. So that is why we can't ask why this alphabet is called A, because we are in a society, the majority of them are calling this as a A. Okay, so that's the beauty of a language. We must go by the society. Okay, we must apprehend, we must assume what the society, because we are all social beings, we are all living in this society, right? So therefore you don't ask why this certain words added yes in the beginning of the noun, and some of the words that are added yes is added in the end of the noun. Okay, so this is how the rule was brought by the grammarians. Okay, so commander in chief becomes commanders in chief. A coat of mail becomes coats of mail. And you will also find one more thing, that the absence of an article. Which article is this? Definite or indefinite? Anyone can interact, because I don't want to make the things kind of monologue. I want to make things in a dialogical way. Can anyone respond from any other schools? A. Which type of article is this? So indefinite article is this. Okay, there are two types. One is definite article and another one is indefinite article. You will find the absence of the indefinite article when the things are changed into singular to plural. Okay, so a, an are called as indefinite article, and definite article is, of course, it is the. And there are some occasions you pronounce the word the as the. It is when it comes in front of the vowels, we have to pronounce this as the apple, because apple starts with vowel a. Therefore, if it comes in front of an apple, immediately you have to pronounce it as the apple. And if it is before the consonant, then you have to pronounce it as the. Are you clear? So you will also find simultaneously the absence of the indefinite article here when you change these words, the so-called compound noun, from singular to plural. And you see, a son-in-law na yaar, marumagan, becomes sons-in-law. It is not sons, son-in-laws. No. Laws manam maatha Yada maathuvom sons, beginning. A daughter-in-law becomes daughters-in-law. A stepson becomes stepson, sons, step-sons. Okay. A stepdaughter becomes stepdaughters. See, only concentrate on the noun part of it. Only the noun becomes plural, not the chief or step or maid or law, male. These don't becomes plural. You are not adding s into all these stuffs. Whereas instead you are adding s with the noun, especially the common noun. Okay? And maid servant na theriyum illaya, pani pen appdin solluvom illaya, paniyalar appdin, adhan. Maid servant becomes maid servants. Okay? Maid is not a noun, whereas servant is a noun, common noun. Okay? Podu perchol. So we are adding s at the end of a common noun. Here you see a passer-by. So by is not a noun, whereas passer, the person who passes, okay, are called passer. Vadi poker. Yeah? Therefore we are adding s at the end of the noun, common noun. Okay. Next, passer-by, and there are few examples here given. You see, a looker on, lookers on. Those who look are called lookers. See, you are all looking at the slides. Okay, then a man of war becomes men of war. So there is no change. We normally use plural as men. So in between we change a into e. Right? The same thing like woman, women. The plural form of woman is women. So the same things are reflected here. But in the following, both elements are made plural. There are some words you change both the things. Okay, you just note it down, all this. These are exceptionals. Vidhi vilakkugal adin sollalam. Man becomes men and servant becomes servants. You see? Whereas in the previous examples, only a particular word, especially the noun, became plural by adding s at the end. Whereas you see this list of words which is changed into plural by adding s, or even sometimes things changed in the middle also. The example word is a man servant becomes men servant. So you are changing man into men and servant into servants. And second one is a woman servant. Woman becomes women and servant becomes again servants. Then a gentleman farmer. Gentlemen farmers. Here also the same thing is applied. The absence of indefinite article. A. When you change the so-called words, singular nouns, singular compound nouns to plural compound noun, you will find the similarity of the norm is applied. That is none other than the absence of an indefinite article. Okay. Then a man student or man doctor becomes men students or men doctors. A Lord Justice becomes Lords Justices. A Knight Templar, Knights Templars. Okay, children? Now, please notice that the plural forms of a spoonful. Spoonful அப்படினா தெரியும் இல்லையா? You do sometimes take medicines in the spoon, right? அப்ப ஸ்பூன்ஃபுல்லா நீங்க எடுக்கிற இல்லையா? அதான் ஸ்பூன்ஃபுல். ஸ்பூன்ஃபுல்னா ஒரு பெரிய காம்ப்ளெக்ஸான ஒரு வேர்ட்லாம் கிடையாது. இட்ஸ் வெரி சிம்பிள் ஒன். ஸ்பூன்ஃபுல் அப்படின்னா full of spoon. ஓகே, ஒரு full spoon எடுக்கிறீங்க. Then handful, a handful அப்படின்னா ஒரு கை ஃபுல்லா அப்படின்னு அர்த்தம். A mouthful, sometimes when you drink water, people just keep mouthful of water. Okay, that is mouthful. Or spoonfuls, handfuls and mouthfuls, these all becomes mouthfuls because you are adding only just an s, just a yes. Spoonfuls, handfuls and mouthfuls. Because காரணம் என்னன்னு சொன்னா, each of these words is regarded as one word, uni. Okay, ஒரே வார்த்தையாக அது கருதப்படுகிறது. Why? Because this is considered as, regarded as one word. So there are nouns which have two forms for the plural, each with a somewhat different meaning. அதாவது இப்ப என்னன்னு சொன்னா, ஒருமையில அந்த நவுனை பயன்படுத்தும் பொழுது அதுக்கு ஒரு மீனிங் வருதுமா. அதே பன்மையில ப்ளூரல்ல பயன்படுத்தும் பொழுது அதோடைய மீனிங், அர்த்தம், பொருள் becomes entirely different. மொத்தமா அது டிஃபர் ஆகுது, மாற்றம் அடைகிறது. That's the beauty of this rule. Okay, we have come to entirely a new rule. Okay, now singular cloth. Cloth அப்படினு சொன்னா என்ன? Kinds or pieces of cloth. துணி. Cloth அப்படினு சொன்னா துணி. Clothes அப்படினா என்ன? Garments. See the difference now? Garments என்ன? அதுவும் துணிதான், ஒரு பண்டலா இருக்கும் இல்லையா, அது clothes. Dye. Dye என்ன? இறந்து போறது. Dye. Dyes. Stamp for coining. Dyes அப்படின்னா என்ன? Stamp. coining. Dice அப்படின்னு சொன்னா small cubs used in games. பகடை dice. இன்னொரு dice என்ன? Stamps for coining. Stamp, you know the stamp. காந்தி எல்லாம் போட்டிருக்கோம் இல்லையா stamps. நியூஸ்ல கூட நம்ம யூஸ் பண்ணுவோம் இல்லையா letters, inland letters, envelopes எல்லாம் we used, right? Stamp. That is stamps for coining. So this is how this rule gets a new familiarity. Why? Because it is entirely different when we change these so-called cloth or dye sorts of example words into a plural one. The whole meaning gets a new idea. You see the next example, fish. Fish என்ன? மீன் இல்லையா? fish. Fishes, you can call it fishes. So you can use es here. So to taken separately we are using this as fishes. And also you can use the same fish here collectively to call the entire group. ஒரு tankல வந்து நிறைய fishes இருக்குது, varieties of fishes are there. So you can call it even fishes or even fish alone. Okay? Are you able to follow? Right. Genius, the person who has a high amount of IQ, known as genius. Here you can call it geniuses, persons of great talent, skills, abilities. Genie, spirit, people with a greater spirit. So this is how you can change these so-called singular nouns into plural nouns. Okay, there are two different ways of making plural. ரெண்டு விதமான வழிகள் இருக்கிறது இந்த வார்த்தைகளுக்கெல்லாம். Next thing is, conversely, there are nouns which have two meaning in the singular, but only one meaning in the plural. You have seen so far, the nouns had two meanings in the plural, whereas now we are going to see a list of words that has two meaning in the singular form, whereas only one mono meaning in the plural form. Okay, you please kindly note down all these words. Take an example of the word light. What do you understand by the word light? Light அப்படினு சொன்னா radiance இல்லையா? The spectrum, அப்படியே அந்த அலை கற்றை போகுது இல்லையா? ஒளி வீச்சு போகுது இல்லையா? கதிர் வீச்சு. அத light அப்படினு நம்ம சொல்லுவோம். What is another meaning? A lamp. விளக்கு. அதையும் நம்ம லைட் தான் சொல்லுவோம் இல்லையா? See, the singular form has two meanings. ரெண்டு விதமான அர்த்தம் இருக்கிறது இதுக்கு. ஆனா when you change this into plural, lights, light becomes lights. What you are trying to say is lamps, which mean. Have you understood? So in the singular form, the so-called that words has two meanings. That is what the rule has said. Two meanings it has. Whereas in the plural, when you change, it becomes only one mono meaning. Okay. Then people. Normally people represents nation. Okay. School. What do you mean by school? School na, it's not something the structural understanding of a school. School na enna? If there is no student, it's a collection of students, right? If there is no students, then there is no the concept of school. We can't just name the building as school. It is a number of people who forms this so-called concept like school. If you understand this concept, it is very easy. So the collection of people is called nation, country. And another meaning is men and women. Okay, ஒரு நாட்டில் இருக்கின்ற ஆண்களும் பெண்களும் சேர்ந்து. And when you change this into a plural one, it becomes peoples, which means nations. See the next word, powder. Powder என்ன நினைப்போம்? முகத்துக்கு போடுறோம் இல்லையா பவுடர், அந்த பவுடர் இருக்கு, டர்மரிக் பவுடர் இருக்கு. Powder na normally we get that sense, a dose of medicine in fine, dose of medicine. Okay, powder. We also do eat some medicines, right? மருந்து, அதுல கூட நம்ம powders use பண்றோம் இல்லையா? So one way of meaning is that the medicinal term. And other powder is grains like dust. தூசு மாதிரி இருக்குமா ஒரு படிமம். So it has two meanings. Whereas when you change into plural, you are adding yes, powders, which means doses of medicine. Dosage na தெரியும் இல்லையா? எவ்வளவு மாத்திரை நம்ம எடுக்கணும் அப்படின்றது தான் டோஸ். So powders அப்படின்றது it gives you meaning of a doses of medicine. Then practice. Again it has two meaning. One is practice, habit. And another practice is exercises of a profession. Profession na enna? Teaching is a profession. See what? I am a professional here, okay? Doctor, they are professionals. Social workers, they are professionals. Puridama? So, practicing professional in the sense, whatever that they have imbibed knowledges, the body of knowledge has been put into practice. செயல் வடிவம் பெறறதான் practice னு சொல்லுவாங்க in one sense. In the other sense, habit. I told you, right? Practice makes one perfect. ஒருவர செயல்பாடுகள் தான் அவர்களை முழுமையானவர்களாக மாற்றுகிறது. So that is a practice. It's a habit. Yeah, way of living. Habit na enna? Way of living. So here the singular meaning has two different synonyms. Whereas here, practices, which means habits. Habits, in fact. We missed out somewhere. On this, come down. Some nouns have a different meaning in the singular and plural forms. Okay, there are some nouns. It differs in meaning in the both the ways. Singularல அது ஒரு மீனிங் இருக்கும், ப்ளூரல்ல இருக்கும் பொழுது அதோட அர்த்தமே வித்தியாசமாக இருக்கும். அந்த வேர்ட்ஸ் தான் இப்ப நம்ம பார்க்க போறோம். See the word advice. Air. First take the word advice. Advice அப்படின்றத கவுன்சில் அப்படின்னு சொல்லலாம். Singular form is counsel, whereas the plural form is information, data. Okay. Air can be called as atmosphere. Atmosphere na enna artham? Which a composition of air that makes atmosphere. So the plural form for it is affected manners. Similarly, good, which means benefit and well-being in the singular form. Whereas in the plural form, merchandise. Again, compass, extent, range. Whereas in the plural form it is an instrument for drawing circles. நீங்க மேக்ஸ்ல யூஸ் பண்றீங்க இல்லையா, காம்பஸ் வச்சு பென்சில் வச்சு நீங்க you make a circle, right? That is. Then respect அப்படின்றத regard அப்படின்னு சொல்றோம், compliments அப்படின்னு சொல்றோம். This normally you see in the invitations, marriage invitations. And this is advanced level. I want to give you this piece of information because I want to cover this whole singular and plural in a holistic way, not for the sake of examinations. Okay? Because the way of teaching is mine is entirely different. It is not sort of a kind of examination oriented thing. Okay, next is physics. Physics அப்படினு சொன்னா normally உடல் அமைப்பு இல்லையா, the anatomical structure. Medicine, natural science. See the way how it becomes. No, that's the beauty of this one. Different meaning, it have a different meaning in singular and plural. The so-called words becomes entirely different when you change singular into plural. Iron, it's a kind of material. ஒரு கனிமம் இது. fetters அப்படின்னு ப்ளூரல்ல சொல்றாங்க. fetters of iron அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவாங்க இல்லையா, அதான் fetters. forces அப்படின்னு சொல்றது strength அப்படின்னு ஒரு சென்ஸ்ல வருது, பட் பன்மையில பேசும்போது அது ட்ரூப்ஸ்னு மாறுது. ஆர்மி ட்ரூப்ஸ் அப்படி சொல்றோம் இல்லையா, அதான். Please scroll slowly. An uncountable noun or a non-count or mass noun அப்படின்றது வந்து ஒரு கிராமரியன் சொல்றாரு. அவர் யாருன்னா மௌரர். Okay. Uncountable nouns, of course you know, uncountable nouns are none other than the abstract nouns. Okay. Asserts, names things that cannot be counted in their normal sense. Normally we can't count it because they exist in a mass form. ஒரு பருமனாக இருக்கிறது. mass அப்படினு சொன்னா என்ன, mass you know, in the science there is a concept in physics, mass. Because it's in the mass form we can't able to measure it. Whereas Eckersley affirms that this noun stands for substances that cannot be counted. It's in a substance form, that is why we can't able to count it, but can only be measured. ஆனா அதை மெஷர் பண்ண முடியும். Therefore they cannot be made into the plural form. That is why these so called uncountable nouns are can't able to make it into a plural form. இப்ப பாரு, ஒரு சின்ன ஒரு எடுத்துக்காட்டு பாருங்க. கம்பேஷன் அப்படின்னு ஒரு அப்ஸ்ட்ராக்ட் ஃபார்ம் நவுன் இருக்குது. அந்த நவுனை நம்ம ப்ளூரலா மாத்த முடியாது. Because compassion is itself is an abstract noun that we can't able to make into a plural one. Okay. Slowly. So far we have covered the major aspects of a singular and plural, and we are going to see a small PowerPoint on singular and plural nouns, which is very basic one. Okay, which has minimum of 6 rules. Okay, now let's see that. There are 6 ways to change a noun from singular to plural. So it has only included only 6 ways. Okay, 6 ways. It's a not advanced things are given here, very basic things are given. Okay. A noun is a person, place, or thing. Of course, you know these are the names of the naming word. It's a definition of a noun. Noun is a person, place, thing. Singular means only one noun. What do you mean by singular? Which means only one noun. What do you mean by plural? Plural means more than one noun. Okay, when this become plural, பன்மை எப்படி ஒரு noun வந்து நிறைய நவுன்கள் ஆகும்போது. Cow becomes cows. How? The number gets increased, the quantity increased. That's why we call this as plural, பன்மை. Next you see the first rule. Most nouns become plural by adding. Yes, all we have these things we have discussed earlier, isn't it? Most nouns become plural by adding. Yes, what are those things? Boy becomes boys. We are normally adding yes to it. It's a very basic understanding of a singular and plural. Okay. Next, book. How it becomes? Books. Next word, desk. மேஜை. Singular becomes desks. புத்தகம். அது எப்படி மாறுகிறது? பன்மையில் புத்தகங்கள். School, பள்ளி கூடம். பள்ளிக்கூடங்கள். Schools. Next rule is nouns that end in ch, sh, x and es. These so-called words, how this changed? Bush, for example, ends with sh. Therefore, we are adding es. Bushes. Pudar இல்லையா? அததான் சொல்றோம் bush அப்படினேட்டு. முட்புதர். Box becomes boxes. Next, church. Church is a worshipping place of the so-called Christians. Becomes churches. Since the fact it ends with ch, we are adding es. Then the third rule. The nouns that end in f or fe often change it into ves. Wife, for example, becomes wives. Okay, let's see the words. Wife, see the same thing is given. Wife, manaivi. You don't add s. Instead you add ves, wives. Why? Because it ends with fe. Life, for example, lives, ves we add. Wolf ends with f, so wolves. Rule number 4. Some nouns change the inside spelling, like men. Man becomes men, woman becomes women. So, in between, inside the word, some spelling gets corrected. Man, see, becomes men. Goose becomes geese. Mouse becomes mice. You see how this changed? Mouse, OUS becomes IC. A becomes E. This is how some of the singular nouns becomes plural nouns. So when we convert into singular to plural, so the thing, a slight change happens in the middle of a word. So rule number 5. Nouns that end in a constant letter. Constant na theriyum, மெய் எழுத்துக்கள். So in English we have vowels and consonants. உயிர் எழுத்துக்கள் 5 A E I O U. மெய் எழுத்துக்கள் எத்தனை இருக்கு? Remaining 21 letters. So this is Y. Y which ends with consonant. Okay. Drop the Y. Instead you add IES. Let's see the words. Sky, for example. See, ends with a consonant letter called Y. Becomes skies. IES, adding S. IES. Then puppy, that becomes puppies. Donkey,
Okay, children, now are you able to hear me? Yeah. There is a problem with regard to the mic, okay? So, pardon me.
Okay, that's about the rule number 6. So con becomes con. So it remains as if. So the review would be, so we are in the first rule just adding yes. And the second rule, those words that which ends with ch, sh and x, we are adding normally es in the end of the word. And the third rule would be, nouns that end in f or fe becomes ves when we change it into a plural one. Then the fourth rule would be, some nouns change the inside of the spelling. So in between, middle of the sentence becomes multiplied. I mean, a slight change, like woman. Woman becomes women, men becomes men. I think you are all packing your things. You are busy with going to your homes. Listen, the fifth one, nouns that end in constant letter y changed into IES. Okay. the sixth rule, some nouns do not change when making them into plural. It remains as it is. So that's how the short presentation on singular and plural, which is covering the minimum rules. Okay. Blank screen. Children, the class is not ended. Okay, please listen. There are few things which are not covered in the both PDF and PPT. I'm going to do. There are certain words like thanks. So there is no plural form or singular form. So you normally say thanks. Okay, it is neither singular nor plural. இது ஒருமையும் இல்லை பன்மையும் இல்லை. ஆனா இத நம்ம பார்க்கும் பொழுது எண்ட்ல நம்ம s இருக்கும் பொழுது we wrongly assume that this is a plural. In fact it is not. In fact it is not so. And there are some subjects, for example. Subject like mathematics. See, this ends with s. It does not mean it is a plural. So, there are some subjects name ends like this for physics, electronics. Okay? And there are the diseases, for example. Diseases like rickets. Rickets அப்படினு ஒரு disease இருக்கு. So ends with yes. So don't misassume that this is a plural form. No. Both singular and plural similar. And listen, there are some foreign languages like eratum becomes errata. So you remember Uma, a girl name, of course. Please note down all these very very important things. These are நல்லா பேக் பண்ணிட்டு ரெடியா உட்கார்ந்து இருக்கீங்க வீட்டுக்கு போய் என்ன சாப்பிடலாம் அப்படினுட்டு. I appreciate your sincerity. Then index becomes indices. So X becomes ICES. This is yet another rule with regard to the foreign languages. I am going to take 5 more minutes. I don't leave you, because I want to convey, I want to accountable to God. Okay. Then radius becomes radi. So here US becomes double I. Note these are small rules. Okay, I want to cover things fully. Next, access becomes access. Therefore isu becomes yes. Criterion becomes criteria. Here on becomes a. So very simply you can write these examples. These are the foreign languages like Latin, Greek. Okay. So when you change these words, you can make the rules this way. You write example words, and in a card you write the rules simultaneously. Okay, parallelly. Uma, the first rule is Uma. Becomes a. X becomes isus. Us becomes double I. Is becomes yes, and Wana. You know the animal, or a small creature called Wana. And the Wana pathirukringla. So Uma, Wana. So this is how also you can remember the rules. So though it looks so funny, for the sake of understanding, learning the rule, you can employ such kinds of short mechanisms. Okay, I think I have covered fully what is about this singular and plural. ஒருமை பன்மை என்கிற அந்த ஒரு பாடத்தை உங்களுக்கு முழுமையுமாய் எடுத்த அந்த ஒரு திருப்தி எனக்கு இருக்கிறது. ஆனால் it is up to you to recall all these rules with examples, make you getting more marks in your exams. So thank you, children.